He knew he was getting close when he heard something. The sounds were muffled, like listening through water. It was the sound of voices, the muted cries of an excited mob. As he moved towards a clearing he knew well, the sight before him took his breath away. What should have been a peaceful meadow was now a barren stretch of land filled with smoke. Small fires burned trees that were smashed and splintered into kindling. A horde of men were making their way up the rise, brandishing swords, axes, spears, and bows. Shouting and screaming, their unkempt hair and beards gave them a barbaric appearance. Wearing dark cloaks and a variety of leather or chainmail armor, they were a fearsome sight to behold. Out ahead of them, their quarry moved gracefully through the difficult terrain, her long legs dancing around obstacles as she evaded their arrows. Her dark hair floated off her shoulders, whipping to and fro with each of her evasive moves. She never looked back, but was always one step ahead of their attacks. In an instant, he knew who it was. For a split second, he drank in her grace and beauty. She was strong and agile, and moved with an assuredness that was mesmerizing. She was not afraid. At least 50 men were clamoring along behind her, but she showed no signs of panic. The small pack on her back, a bow and quiver of arrows, were held fast against her slim yet muscular frame. She wore dark leather and tall boots that fit well and moved easily with her. His glimpses of her had always been fleeting. To see her like this was like finding water in the desert. At once, he was filled with so many emotions that he couldn't move. The overwhelming joy at seeing her made him want to cry out. Then the terror of her predicament sent a wave of fear through him. There she was, all alone, trying to outrun death. He was barely able to breathe as a tear ran down his cheek, his heart breaking at the prospect of what was going to happen to her. With his next breath, all his emotions swirled into a rage-filled determination, propelling him to action. His hesitation having lasted only a moment, he moved to intercept her, although he had no idea what he was going to do. He would not let these men lay a hand on her, no matter what the cost. He would try to save her. She did not see him coming, and he closed the gap between them quickly. Fortunately for him, her pursuers did not seem to notice him either. A few strides away, and he saw it, a giant ball of fire heading directly towards her. Having just dodged a barrage of arrows, she moved into its path. At a full sprint, he leapt towards her with his arms outstretched. As he grabbed her upper body, he twisted to pull her down on top of him so he would absorb the blow. He caught the look of shock on her face as she turned and saw the fireball pass just above, right where her head had been a split second earlier. The moment she was in his arms, there was an explosion of sound and light. The magnitude of it was something he couldn't have conceived. The only thing he could think of is that it was like being inside a bolt of lightning when it struck, but even that seemed inadequate. Time suddenly stopped and lost all meaning. His only thought was to hold on to her, afraid that if he let go, she would be lost. She smiled at him, then put on a stern look and asked, "No more arguments. Let me see that arm." They walked inside, and David took off his shirt to expose the cut on his arm. Aurora looked at him for a moment, taking him in. This was the first time she had seen him without a shirt. She had felt his muscular body against hers, but somehow this was different. It hit her for the first time how handsome he was. His strong chin and penetrating brown eyes. He had short brown hair, exposing his neck and broad shoulders. He was well built and trim. His arms, chest, and stomach muscles were all chiseled from hard work. She felt the desire to reach out and touch him, something she had never felt before. "Is something wrong?" David asked. "Oh, no," she said, gathering herself. Then looking at the cut, she said in a playful voice, "Oh my, this is nothing. I can't believe you made such a stink about it." David let out a hearty laugh and said, "I know. I do go on, don't I?" She chuckled as she pulled some things out of her bag. She put some salve on it, then a bandage, and said, "Now, let me look at your back. That was quite a blow you took." Inspecting the area, she added, "You're going to have a good bruise, but I think you'll live." David put his shirt back on. He turned to see her looking at him again, and she quickly looked away and said, "I guess we'd better go."